One of the more common complaints that we hear about new cars, especially SUVs, is that they all kind of look the same. And if you don't believe me, as you can see, styling on these utility vehicles is kind of homogeneous. This makes it especially exciting when a run-of-the-mill SUV comes out with something exciting and fresh. Something like this, the new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe. This represents a serious glow up for Hyundai's other midsize SUV. Now the Palisade might grab more of the headlines because frankly, since it debuted, it's been the better vehicle. But this new Santa Fe has a few tricks up its sleeve that I think might put it on par or make it even better than the Palisade. Starting with this rugged exterior styling. Now this is kind of a first for Hyundai. They've got a lot of SUVs in the lineup, but none of them look like this. None of them look like they're actually ready to take on the great outdoors as this new Santa Fe does. Hyundai actually says that they've taken lessons that they learned from the Ioniq electric vehicles and applied them to the Santa Fe, so you get active grille shutters, there's some air routing underneath the vehicle, so this new Santa Fe is actually more aerodynamic than the outgoing one, even without the curvy styling. Also up here, you have a black Hyundai badge that's only going to come on calligraphy models with a black ink package. We're going to see a few of those today. Also new up front, these sort of H-shaped LED elements that kind of run all the way here across the front as well, and they connect completely. Gives the Santa Fe a really cool visual signature, especially at night. Coming down the side here, we have some very vertical sides, and one of the cool visual tricks about the Santa Fe is that it's not very tall. When we first saw pictures of this vehicle, we thought it looked huge vertically, but as you can see, as I stand next to it, it's actually about the same height as the old one. And despite this rugged appearance, it actually has about the same ground clearance as the last model as well, they say. But it has these extra kind of black styling elements underneath it, and that makes the whole vehicle look lifted a lot taller than it is, sort of like if I was wearing platforms. Now this styling is meant to make the Santa Fe appeal more to overlanders, and there are actually features on the outside of the vehicle that should make it easier to access the roof as well. So, as you can see here on the pillar, there's this little panel here, and this is actually a grab handle. So if I have things on the roof in a bin, or if I need to climb up in a tent, I can just grab here, and there's a little pad here to put my foot. And now I have much easier access to anything that I'm storing up here. Just a really cool way to use this space. You also have this 3D kind of look to both of these pillars that I really like, and I'm just gonna get this out of the way now because it needs to be said once. There are serious Land Rover vibes with this vehicle, but I kind of like it. Now moving around to the rear, this is the one styling element that we weren't quite as sold on in the beginning, and it's the position of these tail lights. They're actually very low here, down near the bumper, and one of our social media editors actually took it upon himself to make a Photoshop of where we thought the tail lights should be, and I agree with him, they do look better there. However, the position of these tail lights is also functional, and it allows for a larger cargo opening. According to Hyundai, while they were developing this vehicle, one of the priorities was to have a very big, sort of wide open cargo space. And that's accomplished because of this kind of large strut here. So as you can see, instead of coming down vertically, it actually tapers outwards. And Hyundai says that if the taillights were higher, they would have had to position this strut inwards by about 100 millimeters, which is roughly this, and that would have really shrunk down the area in which you have to load cargo. They didn't provide exact measurements for this space yet. We know that the last vehicle had about 32 cubic feet of cargo room behind the second row, but that's information we're going to find out later for this vehicle. Another cool thing about this cargo area is now that the third row and the second row both fold completely flat. So there's these little buttons here in the cargo area. I just give them a little tap. Second row seats fold down, and the cool thing is that if I'm sitting up front in the driver or the passenger seat, I can also do that through the front infotainment screen. So if someone's coming around to load something, I can basically make them a pretty flat load floor without even leaving my seat. The new Santa Fe is larger. It's about 2 inches longer in both overall length and in the wheelbase, but that still leaves it about 4 inches short of the Palisade. However, Hyundai tells us that in an important interior measurement, where you measure the length from the dashboard all the way back here to the tailgate, the Santa Fe is actually larger than the Palisade. Given that, the Santa Fe should have analogous interior room and potentially now a third row that can fit adult passengers, which was a weakness of the previous Santa Fe. So that means we're going to put the Santa Fe through the semi-famous 3 Brian's test. Now, I'm 5'11", so unlike my vertically challenged colleague Clint, I'm actually going to give this third row a real adult-sized test. What I've done is I've put the front seat, the driver's seat, where I like to drive. I put this second row seat where I can sit comfortably, and then I see how I can fit in the third row. And the answer to that question is actually pretty well. There's a little bit more leg room, so my knees aren't jammed up here, but the thing that I really appreciate is the increase in headroom. There's actually this cutout in the roof where your head could go, but you don't even need it because there's just so much headroom. And you actually have a pretty good sized window here. You have an air vent here. You have USB ports at every seat. so everyone can charge and everyone has air. The only thing that I would change is that the seat height down here is a little bit low, so my knees are kind of up towards my chest. So not a great place for like a really long trip, but for anything under 2 hours, you can totally fit an adult back here. This being a pre-production model, it doesn't really have all the features that will eventually be on this vehicle, but Hyundai has added for the second row the relaxation mode that you do get on the front row of the Ioniq 5. So there will be a little footrest that folds out here, and this seat will fold back almost all the way, making it an ideal place for a nap or to rest while you're on the go. I know that the exterior of this vehicle got a lot of the attention, but for me, the real star of this vehicle is the interior, the way that it's packaged, how efficiently it uses space, and this new styling up front. So 12.3-inch screens here in front of me for the instrument cluster and for the multimedia system, all sitting behind this single curved display. On the left here, a fingerprint sensor that you can even use to start the vehicle. This steering wheel looks awesome. On the little thing here, has the same touch that you get in the Ioniq. These 4 dots that are actually an H in Morse code, so a cool little touch there. And again, the H theme kind of continues along with the air vents here. And it's just, I mean, Hyundai has done a good job with interiors and we really liked it, but this is on a completely different level. Another thing very cool, this storage bin. So you can actually open it from the front here, and there's another handle where you can open it from the back. So if you have kids in the second row, and this may or may not be a good thing, they're gonna have better access to snacks or anything else you're storing in this bin. Hyundai has also moved the gear shift from here in the center console up onto the stalk here, which is a good move because all of these are electronic anyway. You're not actually changing any of the gears or doing anything here. And that also helps to open up this large storage bin underneath, which is a great place to put a small bag or a purse, just a really thoughtful kind of touch. 2 glove boxes, the top one of which actually comes with a UV sanitizing tray. So if you want to sanitize your phone or anything else, pop it in there, it gets rid of the germs. Another thing about the center console, you'll notice that this tray has gotten very big, and that's because there's now 2 wireless charging pads. So one for the driver, one for the passenger. They can both charge at up to 15 watts at the same time. Hyundai says that there's also a fan underneath these things to help keep your phone cool. So after you charge it this way, you don't have to pick it up and be like, ooh, that's hot, and drop it again. And while we're on the topic of wireless things, I am very pleased to inform you that the Santa Fe is going to come with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, a feature that we've been clamoring for in Hyundai's, Genesis, and Kia vehicles for some time. It's finally here, and it just really fits this very kind of tech-forward interior. I mean, I like the exterior, I love the interior. As for powertrains, Hyundai has only confirmed that 2 of them will be available for the North American market. That would be a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and a hybrid with a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And if those sound familiar, that's because those are basically the same powertrains that you'd find in the previous generation Santa Fe. And we have some power figures, but not officially confirmed yet for the US, but we should expect them to make basically the same horsepower and torque. And we're just gonna have to wait a little bit for those fuel economy numbers as well as pricing. This represents a very splashy debut for the 5th generation of the Hyundai Santa Fe, and we think that these rugged looks and interior upgrades will definitely play well. Now we're still waiting for a lot of these final details like pricing, trim levels, and seating configurations. Hyundai says we'll find those things out in November at the LA Auto Show, but for now we've seen enough to really get excited about this vehicle. Now there are those that might say that even though it looks really rugged, how much more rugged could it be since, you know, there's not really great mechanical changes, not really added ground clearance. And to that, Hyundai says, check this out. This is the XRT concept, and this kind of shows the potential for this vehicle if you added more overlanding equipment, gave it maybe a lift, and some all-terrain tires. It's a much more rugged take, and it shows that Hyundai is at least considering adding off-road performance to match the Santa Fe's rugged looks, and we like that that's where their thinking is going. The 2024 Santa Fe is set to go on sale next year. For more information about the Santa Fe, head over to Edmunds.com. And if you've been enjoying our videos, please help us out by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching.